Here I have an Economist from July 13th, 2019. The title story is Riding High, What Could Bring Down America's Economy? You can see different people sitting on a steel bar, basically. And the other main stories include the most dangerous man in Europe, China's Silicon Valley, the IMF, and the changing of Lagarde. Scoop leaks from a US ambassador. So let's take a look what's inside. Here we have a Rolex ad featuring highly successful golfers like Tiger Woods or Francesco Molinari, and there it talks about a chess tournament, at golf, not chess, golf tournament. Here you have a Salesforce ad that says connect to your customers in a whole new way. Here we have the content overview over a couple of main stories. Here's the cover. Explained a bit. America's economic expansion is now the longest on record. What could bring it to an end? So yeah, keep in mind, this is from July 2019, so no corona pandemic, no election in the US. So yeah, Trump is president. Stocks are up high. So that's the outset of this issue, basically. Here you have an ad by Darktrace, which says it's world-leading cyber AI that can protect you from different cyber threats. Here we have a cartoon featuring Trump and Johnson. So Trump is like a huge king. Johnson is like a small child. And he says to Trump, should I become prime minister, my administration will gladly wear its admiration for your Trump executive copyright line of clothing on its sleeves. So yeah, it should show a little bit how obedient Johnson is to Trump. Here we have some kind of, it's an ad actually, but it's very infographic heavy. I haven't heard about this company, to be honest. Temasek, no clue. Here's a HSBC ad that says, funny how disruption used to be a scary word. It's like a field with microchip wiring. Here you have this main story. America's expansion will soon be the longest on record. What could bring it to an end? So they're talking about different scenarios for recessions. So as I said, this is pre-corona. But obviously, magazines like Economist were already talking about economic troubles and recessions and stuff like that. So it was already a little bit on the horizon, or like, corona is used as an explanation now, but there are already indicators. Here we have a story about India, how they want to declare Muslim citizens as illegal immigrants. Here again, the story from the main page, from the cover, that talks about the right-wing politician Matteo Salvini from Italy. Here you have a story called A Nightmare on Wall Street about German, European banks competing with American banks on Wall Street and stuff. This story here talks about British ambassador that resigned. Probably this one here. Here we have an ad by Washington University in St. Louis, when a global view means retaining a local focus. Here we have smaller news updates, a couple of ads. What have we here? A strangely elastic expansion. The world economy is breaking records mainly because the factors that cause recession are strangely absent. So as I mentioned, they are like talking about recession and stuff, but the factors that cause it are not there. Here you have this Salvini story, the longer version basically. The most powerful man in Italy. Will he use that power to wreck the euro, or will he back down? So here you can see new fascist overtones everywhere, from the fact that Mr. Salvini recently published a book using a publishing house with links to far-right outfit Casa Pound. So it's a pretty in-depth story about Salvini, as you can see here, pretty long. You can also see how strong the Lega Nord or Northern League is. To be honest, I wasn't aware how strong this party in Italy actually is. And here you can also see that the Italian economy is pretty, the government bond yield is really way down. So let's see how this will turn out. Here you have a story about Russian filmmakers, I think, or Siberian filmmakers, that talks about the film scene basically in the Far East of Siberia. Here you have a story about that Germany does not in fact rule the EU. So it's always, just this saying that Germany is really dominant in the EU, and I guess this article wants to address this stereotype a little bit. Here you also have like Trump and Johnson again. Then here you have British attitudes to welfare have undergone quiet revolution. So here you can see that how the sentiment around welfare spending has shifted in the last 5 years. So here in 2010, the majority, or like at least over 50%, 55% said government benefits are too generous and cuts would damage too many people's lives, was only said by around 42 or something. And now it's quite the opposite. So here you have 55 say cutting welfare spending or cutting welfare benefits would damage people's lives. And yeah, so it's interesting that this shifted quite a bit in the last few years. Here you have stories about Middle East and Africa. So here, this is a story about killings that happen in the Republic of Congo, in the northeastern part of Congo. It seems there is also like an Ebola outbreak there. So yeah, not very pleasant it seems. Then here, next page, you have a story about Eritrea, a gulag state totters. So yeah, Here you have a story about Syria's oil crisis, spoiled by war. So you can see that in 2008, 9, 10, 11, Syria was producing a lot of oil barrels per day. So 400,000, 300,000 easily. And now this is way down to 20,000, or I don't know exactly what this number is at the right hand corner, but since the war, it seems that they are not producing that much oil anymore. Here I have a story about Israel's black Jews problems in the promised land. The children of Ethiopian refugees complain of police brutality. So it's a story about police brutality that affects black people who are Jewish in Israel. Here you have, what's this about? Anti-Semitism. Paris of the East is still arguing over its post-war reconstruction. So it's talking about Beirut, which is referred to Paris of the East because it's so, how do you say, metropolitan, I guess. So here you can see stories about the US. One step forward, many steps backwards about nuclear diplomacy. Despite the president's historic foray into North Korea, the Trump administration risks undoing decades of effort in nuclear arms control.